I'm curious to see how that turns out. Welcome, guys, to episode 21. Let's have a conversation. Today, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on a couple of topics that have happened in the past few days that have piqued my interest. As usual, we're going to dig into, number one, Ben Askren's new physique and all the backlash he's been getting online for having a new physique. Makes no sense, right? Well, let's talk about it. Alex Pereira and his choice on whether or not he wants to move up to heavyweight division or move down to the middleweight division. We are going to have that conversation today. We're going to talk about President Conor McGregor. Conor. I have my thoughts on that. We'll get into it. Potential comeback for Street Jesus, Jorge Masvidal. You heard it, guys. Jorge Masvidal may make a return to the octagon. I'm curious to see how that turns out. Another topic I want to touch on today. What's this trend with civilians, casuals, just regular people always wanting to pick a fight with MMA fighters outside the octagon? Well, I don't get it, but I'm going to try to see if I can wrap my mind around it. And last but not least, Khamzat Chimaev. Let's talk about Khamzat. Well, Khamzat, do you guys think Khamzat is going to make it to his next fight? Thinking. Let's have a conversation about all of this. So, first things first, I want to dig into this whole thing with Ben Askren. Ben Askren, you guys know Ben Askren. He's the man who has had the pleasure to give us a highlight reel for the ages in the UFC. In MMA, in fact, Ben Askren was the victim of the fastest knockouts in UFC history.
The fight clock is brought to you by Modelo.
And the fastest flying knee execution in the UFC. I don't want to go into Ben's history. You guys know Ben Askren. He talks very well. Pretty good analyst, if you ask me. I think Ben Askren analyzes fights very well. I thought while he was in the UFC, he was very, 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 very entertaining. Commentary, how he talks, he was pretty funny. But then he was really exposed in the UFC, and it just invalidated his fight career prior to the UFC, because he went in there and he was completely decimated. Sort of proved the point that the UFC is the premier fight promotion or fight league in MMA. Period. Right? Another good example of that would be Michael Chandler. But I digress. So Ben Askren has been making some videos online, and one of the things that most people noticed was that Ben Askren's physique looked way better than it did when he was fighting. And Ben Askren is retired. So, as you guessed it, a lot of people started calling him out. accusing him of using PEDs or whatever. And Askren had to, so much so, the call out was so bad that Ben Askren had to, he had to come online and address the issue in the video. In that video, he accepted that he was on some testosterone replacement therapy. He talked about the advantages of it to him personally, and I don't see what the problem was. Like, why is Ben Askren having why is he having some backlash? At the end of the day, guys, Ben Askren is a retired MMA fighter, right? And as you guys know, after a certain age, as a dude, your testosterone levels start to dip. You start to have that, that more dad bod coming around, a little flab around the belly. Your energy levels are down, your mood swings are up. You start to have a little of the man titties. You guys know what I'm talking about? So most guys, I'm not saying most, sorry. Some guys actually decide to go on testosterone replacement therapy to, make them feel that little vigor or that energy, to boost their energy and mental clarity, take it back, boost it back up again. There's nothing wrong with that. What is the issue? It's not like Ben Askren is competing. Ben Askren, it's a wrap. Ben Askren's fighting career is done. But he's still a coach, by the way. He's still a wrestling coach. And as a wrestling coach, every now and then you still gotta demonstrate certain wrestling moves to your students. And you need energy for that. If you don't have the energy to keep up in that manner, how are you gonna demonstrate those skills? Plus, just TRT overall is something I find would be beneficial for men above a certain age. So I see no reasons why anybody should be giving Ben Askren the backlash. Good thing about Funky, though, which is what Ben Askren calls himself. The good thing about Funky is that he never takes himself too seriously. Ben Askren can actually come online and talk shit about himself. And when he does that, it diminishes anybody's ability to talk crap about him, which I think is a good thing, And just so you know, for anybody who's giving backlash to Ben Askren, he's not the first person to be on TRT or any kind of hormone replacement therapy after retiring from fighting. If you follow Donald Cowboy Cerrone, Cowboy literally took the same path, retired from fighting, started getting more jacked than he was when he was fighting, because Cowboy lives a very outdoorsy and adventurous and physical lifestyle outside of the octagon. And Cowboy is also on testosterone replacement therapy. He's never hidden it. He comes out, he supports the company that is helping him out with it. I think he might be an ambassador for the company. I'm not sure. But he's never hid that. He says it all the time. And he looks way better than he did when he was fighting. I have no issues with it, guys. Give Ben Askren a break, okay? Let's put that to rest. Funky, keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate you. Keep giving the commentary. I really enjoy them, okay? Let's jump to the next one. Khamzat Chimaev, guys. Is anybody else worried that Khamzat may not make his next fight with Robert Whittaker? First things first, I hope the UFC has a very, very, very good backup fighter. And not just any backup fighter, not just some random from the rankings. I want somebody who is, on a title run to be the backup fighter for Khamzat Chimaev versus Robert Whittaker in their upcoming fight, which was called off a few months ago because Khamzat had some health issues. I'm really hoping that that is the case. Because over the course of his career, Khamzat Chimaev has proven to be one of the most unreliable fighters when it comes to actually making it to a fight. And I don't for the life of me seem to understand why. It's either always something to do with a health issue, or it might just be something to do with his visa status, something. There's always something going on with Khamzat that may prevent him from coming to showing up at a fight. You know? And with regards to the health issue, I'm thinking to myself every single time, like, why is he plagued by health issues so much? Right? Khamzat has been known to go very, very, very hard in training. And sometimes that could also be detrimental to his career. Because, listen, the harder you go in training, the more likely there's a chance you're going to have or sustain an injury that may prevent you from getting to the fight. It's happened time and time and time again, from Khabib to Tony Ferguson, so many people, Conor, so many guys, so many fighters have had this issue. So what's the guarantee with Khamzat? You know? And it's very frustrating for me personally, because I do like Boers. I want to see Boers fight more frequently. And I can imagine how many fights he would have got. He probably would have gotten to a title shot by now if he never had these, sort of seemingly long layoffs due to either injuries or travel restrictions. Right? Listen, if you're on Khamzat's team, I think you need to look into this. Make sure this guy gets sorted out, because I really want to see Khamzat Chimaev have a title shot finally, and see what a Khamzat Chimaev title reign will look like. I'm not really hopeful for that, because I even though Khamzat may make it to become a champion one day, possibly, because you can never rule out somebody who's in the top 5. But we've never seen Khamzat Chimaev in a 5-round fight. We've never seen Khamzat go beyond 3 rounds. And a lot of guys in the middleweight division in the welterweight division have literally exposed Khamzat Chimaev as an early burst kind of fighter. Like, his best rounds are the first 2 rounds, and after that, it's a wrap. Case in point, when Khamzat went up against Gilbert Burns, that was a war. And Burns took him to places he had never been before. And many argue that if that fight was a 5-round fight, at the pace that they had by the end of the 3rd round, probably likely that Gilbert Burns might have won that one. I have no arguments there. I think so as well. And then, former champion of the welterweight division, Kamaru Usman, took a fight with Khamzat Chimaev on, I think it was 8 days or 9 days notice. Pretty much off the couch. Went in there for a 3-round fight. And the results were the same. Even though Khamzat Chimaev won that fight, he wasn't completely dominant of Usman. And at the end of the 3rd round, he looked so gassed that chances are, if that fight had gone on for another 2 rounds, Usman may have won. And just think about how crazy that would have been for Usman to have gone in there on 8 or 9 days notice, fight Khamzat Chimaev, and then wins Khamzat Chimaev. So when you think about all these factors, you just wonder, what's a championship round for Khamzat Chimaev going to look like? I'm very curious to find out. Maybe Robert Whittaker may be the one to test that theory in their upcoming fight if Khamzat Chimaev shows up. Because I don't think he may. he does, I'll be very happy. I'm going to watch it. But the chances are literally 50-50. It might even be 60-40 in favor of the fact that he will actually not show up. What do you guys think about that? Share your thoughts. Let me know. If you guys agree with this or you disagree, let me know. Okay, what are we talking about next? Our next topic would be, okay, now this particular topic irks my nerve. This whole thing about Alex Pereira and the indecision. Guys, listen. Hear me out. TDC says that a bad decision is better than indecision. Did you hear that well? I'll repeat it again. A bad decision is always better than indecision. Because at least with a bad decision, you can tell something went wrong and you can learn from it, rather than somebody who's undecided. And undecided is the best way I can describe Alex Pereira's hunt for double champ status. Alex has always talked about going up to heavyweight or going down to middleweight. And it seems like he can't seem to make up his mind. Right? This new talk about going down to middleweight to fight Dricus du Plessis. Why? Because Dricus just beat Alex? Beat Easy? Or because Dricus is a dominant? Like, what is the deal? When you moved up to light heavyweight, what was the goal? Right? Most of us assumed it's because you had nothing to prove or no challenge really in the middleweight division. And Alex Pereira's biggest challenge in the middleweight division was Israel Adesanya. That was his biggest motivation for being the champion of the middleweight division. And with Izzy no longer in top form and no longer a champion, what does Alex aim to gain by going back down to middleweight? And I really think if Dricus du Plessis is the champion at middleweight and Alex decides to go back down, it's going to be a rough night for him. One, the stress of the weight cut. Two, Dricus as a fighter. These are very, 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 very good reasons why that will be a very bad idea for Alex Pereira. Because, listen, like Dricus said, if Israel Adesanya could stiffen you out and knock your lights out like that, or stun you in the first fight, knocks you out in the second fight, you don't want to be in there with Dricus. You really don't. And I'm not even a big Dricus du Plessis advocate, but I do acknowledge that Dricus has that kind of power. Look what he did to Robert Whittaker. Look what he did to Sean Strickland's face. And Dricus is a better grappler and submission artist than Alex Pereira. We know that. I'm just saying, you go down to fight Dricus du Plessis at middleweight, and Dricus du Plessis decides to make that a dirty fight. It decides to make that a brawl. Yeah, Alex, that might be a bad day for you. Keep your eye on the light heavyweight division. Stay there. Don't even go up as far as I'm concerned. Because going up means either way you go up right now, you're sandwiched between two really deadly divisions. If you go up, you are either facing John Jones or Tom Aspinall for whatever super fight between the light heavyweight champion and the heavyweight champion. You know, assuming that you get past Khalil Roundtree. But then if you go down, you're sandwiched and left to deal with Dricus du Plessis for all the reasons that I've just mentioned. Boy, that is one place you don't want to be. The safest bet for you, Alex Pereira, right now is to remain in your current division and see if you can clean that out. Then start to have conversations about having a super fight with whatever division, up or down. And please make sure it's not John Jones, Tom Aspinall, or Dricus du Plessis. Okay, that's my advice for you. Don't be indecisive. Stay exactly where you are. Got it? Transition and moving on. Guys, I recently saw an article where the reporter said that Street Jesus, Jorge Masvidal, one of my all-time favorites, has decided that he's wants to come back to the UFC, and he's currently in talks to make that happen. My first thought was this: Jorge Masvidal is broke. That's my first thought. I'm not saying that that's what it is. I'm just saying that I think Jorge Masvidal is broke. I feel like Jorge Masvidal and Nick Diaz, their reasons for coming back to the octagon typically is because they're broke. Just my thoughts. I could be wrong. Because what's Jorge coming back for? He mentions that his last loss to Nate Diaz in boxing left a bad taste in his mouth. And for that reason, he wants to come back to mixed martial arts. Well, I'm like, that doesn't even make, I don't understand. How can that be a motivation for you to come back to mixed martial arts? You left mixed martial arts, you retired, you went on to have a fight game bred fighting promotion, which I think it's brilliant. You know, as an entrepreneur or promoter, I really support him to do that. He's been around the sport a long time. Then you also go into boxing. You have a boxing match with Nate Diaz, which will probably be your second fight with Nate Diaz, your second combat sport with Nate Diaz. You lost to Nate Diaz in boxing. Why does that make you want to come back to MMA? Plus, also, I think Jorge Masvidal still has a fight in October with Chael Sonnen, right? And I think Uncle Chael is gonna he's gonna run through Masvidal, I think. But I don't really get the motivation to come back. What do you want to come back for? Jorge Masvidal cannot make a title run, in my personal opinion. I think that's just where he's at in his career. In the prime of his career, he couldn't make a title run. Colby Covington has called him a journeyman. Listen, leave all that aside. Let's talk about now. Jorge is almost 40. And he says he wants to come back to do what? To fight for what? What's the motivation? That Nate Diaz left a bad taste in your mouth? Do you want to have another BMF title fight with Nate Diaz? Right? Is that the plan? You see, none of these things make sense. Which is why I think it's just because Jorge might be, he just wants a little payday. Because Jorge Masvidal is actually, he was one of the biggest top 3 draws in the UFC. It was between Conor, Jorge, and I think it might be Izzy. Conor, Jorge, and Izzy might have been the biggest the 3 biggest draws in the UFC in the last couple of years. And if that's the reason he wants to come back to make money, there's nothing wrong with it. I have no issues. I just find it very, fascinating why he thinks that would be a good idea. And that's all I'll say about that. Share your thoughts. Let me know. Does it make sense for Jorge to come back or not? All right, so transitioning to this other story. So I've noticed this trend in more recent times. And I don't know if you guys ever saw this video, a recent video about Israel Adesanya going out on the streets. I think he went to a cafe in New Zealand. He was just in Nigeria and he went back to New Zealand. He was going, went to a cafe. And then Izzy claims that a random member of the public saw him pulled up with his friends and almost challenged him to a fight. You see, I don't think guys really understand or appreciate fighters for who they are. There's a reason why I always say I respect fighters. Because physically and mentally, fighters are very different from the rest of us in society. They are walking lethal weapons who have crafted their skills and their art for years. So they know how to kill you. They know more ways to kill you than the average Joe. So explain to me why the average Joe will feel very comfortable to walk up to an MMA fighter or want to have an altercation with an MMA fighter, especially a very trained fighter and someone on the level of Israel Adesanya. The same thing happened also this week with Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz almost got into it with a bouncer. And if you notice, in the past year and a half, I believe Nate Diaz also had this altercation where he choked out a guy who looked like Logan Paul in public. Why do you want to keep testing these dudes, people? These guys don't act normal, right? They show very measured constraint whenever they have to deal with members of the public, especially those who try to pick a fight with them or try to agitate them. Maybe the easy dude was looking for a viral moment. I don't know. Maybe he's like a social media guy, wanted to go viral. But there are better ways to do that than to run up on an MMA fighter, and especially one on that level. Those guys are straight up killers. Don't care what anybody says. If you have the balls or you have the bravery to get into an octagon and fight to earn money and for the entertainment of people like me, you are on a different level. Guys, please don't test MMA fighters. I'm begging y'all. Do not test MMA fighters. They can kill you. They can completely end your existence in seconds. Why does Mr. TDC have to be the one to tell you guys this? I'm just saying. It's worth looking into to learn how to stay clear of mixed martial arts fighters. Okay? Timmy. Okay, President Conor McGregor. His Excellency, President Conor McGregor, President of Ireland. Catchy ring to it, doesn't it? It has a very catchy ring. The reason why I say that is Conor just put out a tweet recently about talking politics. Now, Conor, to me, has never been one of the brightest or more intellectual fighters out there. He's not cerebral. I think Conor is more impulsive, and the last kind of person you need in politics to run a country is an impulsive person, or someone who has very little restraint on his actions, and Conor has proven to do that over and over and over and over again. Is that the kind of guy you want to be the president of your country? I'm not Irish, so I don't know. However, if Conor does decide to run for the presidency of Ireland, with the kind of following and popularity that he has, if he gets a good team of strategists, political strategists, it might just happen. Conor is very, very, very beloved in Ireland. I mean, he's a global star, but particularly beloved in Ireland. There are very few fighters who have so many members or so many citizens of their country fly out to any destination in the world where a fighter from that country is about to fight. The Irish do it for Conor. That's how popular Conor McGregor is in Ireland. You know, it might happen. But looking at it from another perspective though, what the hell kind of mind state do you have to be as a potentially active fighter to want to run for the presidency in your country? Like, does that still work? Like, do you still have that? Are you going to be able to pull that off? To have the active fighter mindset to go into the octagon with all these hundreds of millions he's worth, go into the octagon and still fight or have a title run, if possible, which I doubt that it is, and then in the same sentence, wanna run for presidency in Ireland. I don't know if that works. Manny Pacquiao pulled something off like that in the Philippines, but Manny was I think he's a member of Congress in the Philippines. Is it doable? It's not impossible if you put your mind to it. But that just tells me that Conor McGregor might be internalizing an exit from mixed martial arts. If you start talking about politics as an active fighter and you want to go over to run for the presidency with all the variables that and all the challenges that entails, the focus, the clarity, the stress of running for presidency, and you choose to do that, it's going to be very hard to do that and still be a fighter. So he might need to drop one of these things to chase the other. He might need to monkey branch. Right? Where does that leave good old Michael Chandler? Michael Chandler completely wasted 2 years of his life. Oh, yeah, about 2 years. Completely wasted. Waiting on Conor McGregor, who is looking now to be potential president or future president of Ireland. My Lord. Oh, Michael Chandler. I feel bad for him. Okay, all right, I'm gonna wrap this up. I actually said I don't like to talk about Chandler versus Conor whenever that fight is happening. We'll see. I don't think it's happening anytime soon. We will see. Okay? Guys, if you've been here this long, I thank you. If you've been here this long, I thank you. Please like, share, subscribe, and engage. Hit the notification buttons as well when I release videos so you can be the first to see it. I enjoy the conversations, even the rude ones. You guys know yourself in the comments, the rude dudes. I enjoy everything. Send it my way. Let's engage, okay? Let's engage. All right, my people, that's all I've got for you today. I will see you on the next quick clips. Mr. TDC is signing out. Peace.